This week on the Bowser Journal, I get to explain our chicken tracker that I built months ago. Several months back, I built a chicken tracker. I get asked quite often, what is a chicken tracker? It's a mobile home for chickens. You get to move it around the yard and stuff. We actually started off our journey with chickens a couple years ago. And like most new people to chickens, we had no idea what the heck we were doing. So there's actually different types of chicken coops. First, I've got to start with a little bit of history. Let's talk about what we started off with first. So come with me. Look, my wife has grown some hairy vetch. I'm pretty sure they make pills for that. So this was our first chicken coop. We bought it from Tractor Supply when we first moved here. I think we paid about $150 for it. And when we bought it, it said it could store up to 10 to 12 chickens. But we purchased 6 chickens, and I quickly realized 12 was a little bit too much of an eager estimate by whoever designed this thing. So the actual part of the chicken coop that we purchased is just this red part right here. Now, of course, me being a hot rodder, all you car guys know what that means. I can't leave well enough alone. I had to modify it. So I actually, instead of doing the regular roof, I put hinges on it so we could open it up to do cleaning inside of it real easy. The advantage of doing that is then I don't have to pull this out and go into that small hole to try to clean all those things. And then all the eggs you pick up back here through the nesting box. It even has its own built-in water inside of it, so the chickens can actually get water as well. There's a PVC pipe that runs across it that's got chicken nibbles on it. That was attached to 2 55-gallon drums. We've actually repurposed those drums for other things now. Now, quickly learned, like I said, we added on, there wasn't enough space for the chickens. I extended their area made out of basically just pallets that we got from somewhere in chicken wire. So this easily tripled the size, and they were happy with that. Shortly after that, we purchased a rooster, and since the rooster wasn't raised with the female hens, we had to separate them. The reason this area is so huge is because we anticipated at some point having about 20-25 birds. I wanted to make sure it was big enough. So the two areas actually can be sectioned off. We ended up eventually bringing the rooster in with the other, and they basically had run of the whole coop. Now, perfect situation for newbies. The reason we moved away from it is, as you can see, it's only about 4.5 feet tall. There's no access to the top except for over there. So to clean inside of this thing, you got to climb inside of it, and you're bent over and you're scraping. It was a nightmare. It was a pain in the neck. Cleaning up the coop is easy because you just lift up the roof and put it in the wheelbarrow, but cleaning out here is kind of hard. And as you can see, the chickens have been out of this coop now for a year, maybe, almost a year, and you can see they compacted it and there's still nothing growing inside of it. Now the reason I haven't torn this down is we're saving this for a chicken hospital. In case a couple of our birds get sick, we can separate them and they can be separate from the other flock and not get the other birds sick. So they have their own area, it's unsecured. It does the chicken wire around it, then it's got hardware cloth going down 2 feet into the ground. So it is predator proof, as much as predator proof can actually be, because they will still kill and get you things. So like I said, this is a great chicken coop it was for us, for beginning out with.
And Nico is their guard dog.
Nico is the chicken guarder. We decided that we wanted to, one of the problems we have here in the Bowser Ranch is because of the area that we live in. First off, it's Florida, so we have a lot of sand, not a whole bunch of great soil. But because of the people who owned the property before us used to have ATVs, whenever it rains hard, we get a lot of water erosion, soil erosion from the rain. So we're trying to build up the grass. And we wanted a healthier chicken, because a healthier chicken means better food for you, and stress-free chicken means better food for you as well. So that's why we ended up building the chicken coop. So let's go back down here to talk about the chicken coop. I got this chicken coop design from John Suscovich. I purchased his book. And I probably could have built it without looking at his book, but I'm glad I did, because I highly recommend you buy that book, especially if you're new to chickens, because it does more than just tells you how to build this chicken coop. It's made out of simple 2x4 construction with some 1/2-inch EMT and some chicken coop wire, hardware cloth, and a tarp. As you can see right now, we have it off of the blocks for the winter. On blocks for the winter, so that way it's not sitting directly on the ground. Even though I did use pressure treated 2x4s, I want this thing to last for a long time, so I got it up off the ground for the 5 or 6 months that we're going to not use it. Because right now we've actually moved the chickens. I'll explain that later. We moved the chickens from here to another area. One of the cool things I really like about the chicken coop is it's movable, because in the spring we're going to raise some meat birds. So I want this thing to be in great condition for them. So the things I really like about it is we've got 2 sets of wheels on the back that you can actually just basically screw on or screw off, and you set them on the ground, and this sets on the ground beside it. Things I like about this is the design is he actually told you to buy this piece of metal which keeps the threaded rod from shifting around. You put that on, put the fender washer on. I do recommend, when I first started doing this, I would only spin the nut just a few times, just to kind of so I wouldn't lose it. I learned quickly though, if you try to turn with it, it blows out the hubs on the wheel. So I quit being lazy, and now whenever I put these on, I make sure that I take that bolt all the way down. That way it kind of protects that hub. It doesn't have to, you don't want it tight, but you want it snug enough so this thing doesn't have to shift too much. So when you go to move it, after you put the back wheels on, you basically just grab the rope. I put an old garden hose around it so that way the rope would last longer and it'd be a little bit bigger to grab hold of. You lift this end up and you pull it to wherever you want. You will only have to move. Now the coop is 6 feet wide by 12 feet long, which means this has 60 square feet. And according to Suscovich's book, you can put 28 to 30 birds inside of this. I'm probably never going to put that many birds inside of it because I'm always conscious, because I want them to be stress-free. That's why it's stress-free chicken trafficking. So the instructions came with it. It took me 2 days to build it, and I seem to remember it cost me about $150 to build it. And the instructions gives you cut sheets, which tells you how long to cut each piece of wood, and then you do lap joints and stuff like that. Even if you're not good with carpentry, and I'm not a carpenter, I was able to build this thing, and I really like this thing a lot. So the thing is, we modified it a little bit because, again, I'm a hot rodder. I got to modify everything. I can't just do it the way it was supposed to be done. So when we did ours, we actually put another set of doors. Here you see the remnants of the walls. So we had another door here, and then we had this going up, because when we first got this, we had our 2 older birds, Penelope and Ophelia. Kind of interesting story there. Ophelia, we were down to 2 chickens. Ophelia and our rooster. We got rid of the rooster. We stuck with Ophelia. So you can't just have 1 chicken because they're social animals. We had just bought 6 baby chicks. We just got them. They're only like a week or 2 old, so we couldn't put them in here yet. So we had to go buy another chicken, and that's Penelope. And I'll show you some video of that because I got some videos of that. So when the baby chickens were, as Levi would call them, the baby hicks, were ready to come out to the coop, we couldn't put them in the coop with the 2 older girls because we were afraid that they would hurt them. So we divided off into 2 sections. The baby chicks were in the back and the big girls were in the front. And after about 2 or 3 weeks, when they all kind of got used to each other, we would just leave the door open and boom, they were off and running. So another modification we did, we put into purchase form, so that way they all had enough room to be on there. We put in a nesting box, and we used to fill this up with hay, and they would just get up there and lay their eggs. And then another reason why you should get that book is it goes through more than just how to build this thing. He also talks about, for example, the thing I like about it, he has a whole section in there talking about how to tie knots. And you're probably wondering, why do I care about how to tie knots? As a former firefighter, knots mean everything to me. And he actually went through and told you how to do clove hitches to tie waters and feed things off of this as well. So I really like that part. So for the feeder, he didn't go the $20, $30 route buying a chicken feeder. He just took a piece of scrap PVC he had laying around, which I did as well. Cut off the top, cut a piece of wood, screwed it in, put some eye bolts in it. I got lots of paracord floating around. And then basically this just attaches to the roof. When you come in to feed the chickens, you just put the food in there. They all line up along the side, so that way you kind of, because with a regular chicken feeder, you got around here, so you got all your poop in one area, which is not good, because remember, we're using it for fertilizer. So this kind of spreads them out a little bit, so as we move it each time, their manure gets spread out a little bit. If that sounds kind of gross, I know, but it does. Now the reason we wanted to move the chicken coop is because I kind of touched base on a little bit earlier that we have a problem with soil and growing grass on our property. So we put the chicken coop out. We let the chickens eat there for about 2 to 3 days. They scratch, they poop, and all that stuff. And then we move the chicken coop exactly 12 feet, exactly one length. And then they sit there for 2 to 3 days, and that helps aerate the ground, helps fertilize the ground so the grass grows a little bit better. Another design change that we did from the original one from the book is he used chicken wire, which we did as well, but he only did two sections of chicken wire, which actually ends right after the first joist that we made out of bending 1/2 inch EMT, which he explains all in his book. Because we live in Florida and we have a predator problem in our area, because we live near a state forest which has bear, fox, raccoons, and coyotes. We're not typical city dwellers where all you're worried about is the neighbor's cat or the dog. We actually have some predators we got to worry about. So we put another piece of chicken cloth over the center, so that way this thing is completely sealed. And then we even go one step further. When this is in use in production, we have 2x4 with hardware cloth bent at a 90, and we surround the outside of it as well too, and put cinder blocks on it. That way they can't burrow down underneath of it. So as much as possible, we try to make it predator proof. But again, predators will always still find a way to get to chickens. We've lost one bird that way. And the final design change that we did, the tarp that he tells you to buy a white tarp, which I like because it helps reflect the sun. But the size tarp that he actually has you purchase actually would end, if I'd had it on this one, it would end about here. So the first third of it's in open sun. In Florida in the summertime, we get some pretty hot days. So we shaded it all the way out, and then that way they're good to go. Also, don't think that you can only just use this for chickens. That's kind of why I really like this design. You can also use it for turkeys. Obviously, you're not going to put 30 turkeys in here, but you can put it for turkeys in here. You can also use meat chickens or chickens that you're using for eggs, which we used egg chickens. And you can also put rabbits in here as well. And then the cool thing that I really like about it is you can also use it for a cold box. Now, for those that don't know what a cold box is, in the wintertime, it's just a way to keep frost off your plants. I handmade one. I'll show you here in a second. I handmade one out of pallets, and it literally only cost me, I think, $10 for the glass top that we bought for it, because I reused the nails from the pallets and everything. And it's been around for 2.5 years. It needs some maintenance done to it, but so basically you just put your plants in here, close the door, put a tarp over the front and the back on those nights when you get cold temperatures, and you don't lose your plants because of frost. Now you're probably thinking, Chuck, you live in Florida, you don't get frost. Yes, we do. We do get frost. If you live closer to the Gulf or the Atlantic or further down south, you get less of them than we do up here in the middle of central Florida, but we do get probably about anywhere from 5 to 10 days of frost a year, and we don't want to lose those plants.